3 more episodes of Arcane were released, and with it we got more details to look into. By now you know how this works. But before we start breaking apart Act 2, we quickly need to fix some details in Act 1. In the previous video I made 2 mistakes. I accidentally cut out a piece of context when I was talking about the crystals, so that was pointless. And I miscalculated how many crystals Jinx had, which means that no, there are no crystals in the water. And I thought that vendor was actually going to sell Vi out. There were some small details pointing at it. But no, some quotes from Vi in episode 3 disproved it. But anyway, just like last time, in Act 2 there are a lot of details to break down. So without further ado, get ready to jump from a scene to scene very quickly, as these details are all over the place. At the beginning of episode 4, Heimerdinger reveals that Piltover is turning 200 years old. Assuming he didn't venture back to Undercity after he founded the city, he would be roughly 100 years old back then. They then reference Stanwyck Padidley. Originally, Stanwyck was the professor who convinced Victor to come to Piltover. And later, Stanwyck was the one who stole Blitzcrank and presented him as his own invention. But since in Arcane he is dead, you can see that the timeline is slightly different from the original. Also, there seems to be a statue of one of Bulbok's race. The globe on the Hex Gate pictures the map of Runeterra. According to the placement of the rune, the current ship is heading to the Immortal Bastion. The other places the runes can send you to are the Hirana Monastery, the Argent Mountains, or the Delverhold where Noxus is pushing into the Freljord. These automatons are nothing unusual during Piltover's festivities. Oriana once found one herself. When the mechanical butterfly flies, they actually animated the cogwheels to be turning inside. These horned Vastaya seem to fit the description of the race involved in freeing Syndra from her slumber. They are wearing the Kiramen family crest, so they are working for the family. The banners in the background show the Kiramen crest as well as the Talis hammer, showing us the cooperation between the two families. Mr. Nopants from Act 1 returned, and he is now riding an airship. A good catch in the community reveals that these 3 might actually be the founders of the Fortige studio. In their very first scene, the Firelight leader is dangling their watch, feeding the theory that this might be Echo. The barrels picture Gragas holding his barrel. They are marked with a pink cross to show that they are filled with shimmer. Since this airship was heading out, it means that Silco was exporting shimmer to the other regions. The show hints that the Firelights are the good guys because they don't use lethal weapons. At least, not now. The leader's first line in this act is, "We have 5 minutes." The first line of Echo in Act 1 was, "Give me a few seconds." The red masked guy doesn't have ears because it's just a mask. He is a Vastaya. The Firelights know about Jinx, so her reputation has to be quite spread by now. Jinx's grenades and guns spark with purple flashes, hinting that they are powered by Silco's shimmer. There is a reason why this is possible. Even though it is a chemical that can be injected into bodies, it is flammable and so it can be used for explosives. Jinx stands there in shock because she's unsure whether she just shot Vi. Chaotic violin in the background mimics Jinx's mental instability. Even after the leader is long gone, Jinx continues randomly firing without a target with fear in her eyes. She managed to shoot one of her own. When Savika gets mad at Jinx, you can see her augmented arm glow under the cloak. The Progress Day is full of Easter eggs. There are mugs with Jace, Happy Progress Day airship toys which will come back later, and a diver being claimed by the tentacles from the deep, perhaps referencing Nautilus. The music of this festival comes from the instrumental machine in the background. It glows in tune with the tones. Jace's workshop has 2 empty throne chairs around the anvil. These are for Jace and Victor. Victor's cane was upgraded for a full leg support to foreshadow his physical state. When Jace calls out for the professor, the Poro is in frame. That could be because according to the visual novel, the Poro is a professor too. The hammer Jace used to test the gem stability is the family's Talis hammer. You can find it on his table in League's client. They present Heimerdinger with the Atlas gauntlets and the Hex Claw. According to the original lore, the Atlas gauntlets were not made by Jace. They were created by Vido Violante. Jace just stabilized them with Hextech. The Hex Claw is foreshadowing Victor's final form. During the presentation, you can see that Victor doesn't have it fully under control because he burns the back wall as well. He then locks the safety mechanism, but as Jace waves around the other gem, You can see the claw respond to it. That's why it misfires when he throws the gem and catches it. You can also see that the engine of the claw is the same thing Victor was tightening at the beginning. That's why the bolt had runes on it. During Caitlyn's investigation, you can see the dead bodies of the Firelights in the bags. The Piltover dock worker who was loading the barrels can be seen in the background. The mask Caitlyn found belonged to the woman that Jinx mistook for Vi. The guy who was shot by Jinx jumped down to hide from her mayhem. The reason why Marcus is mad that Caitlyn is interfering with the investigation is because by now Marcus had some deals with Silco. If the goon said he was working for him, Marcus's deals would endanger his family. In Zone, the sequence shows us how much the Undercity has changed under Silco's influence. People are breathing cherry blossom pure air. The poster in the back reads, "The Herald's Palace." The icon above seems to be the head of the Rift Herald. The walls are tagged with the same clouds Jinx has tattooed on her arm. There is a Vastayan Chemtech turtle accepting peril offerings from the citizens. A tattoo artist is working on a pentakill tattoo. It is the same guy who is giving Urgot his Baron tattoos. There is a lady with 2 angry poros, and a pimp with a Vastayan companion, a crow, and a Shuriman Soren. People now have cars in Piltover and Zone. The last drop was turned into a nightclub. Shimmer was turned into a widely available drug. People are arm wrestling with shards of glass ready for the loser. Silco's crazy goons are on the dance floor. Silco and Jinx's relationship was a bit disturbing at times. I hope that was by design. Silco's eye injector has Shimmer in it, revealing it is the Shimmer that is keeping his eye alive. The map on Silco's table is the layout of Piltover with the Hex Gate. Silco has a mug made by Jinx on his desk, sort of as a father would. It is an angry monkey with nails in its head. How fitting her PTSD. During the party, the old counselor is nodding at Mel, foreshadowing that she is gonna be the connection between Mel and Jace. Mel mentions none of the other people can offer her anything, only Jace could bring her profit, hinting that Mel is only using Jace. When Jace arrives, all the women pay attention to him, leaving the Medarda counselor quite disappointed. In Jinx's cave, it is revealed she kept all the things from the first act, including the suitcase and the first chompers she found in the bin. She also made herself Milo, and she strapped Clegor's goggles onto a doll. Every time Jinx is talking to herself, we can assume she can hear the voices of these two in her head. Milo is surrounded with the words blah blah, because he's the one who has always gone against Jinx. Jinx has one of the airship toys from the Progress Day. This entire place is one massive Easter egg to the Get Jinxed music video, but all those Easter eggs will be revealed over time. Before Jace's speech, you can see Sky showing interest in Victor for the first time. Jace drinks from his own mug, slowly revealing his egoistic turn. The Kiramen commissioned Vastaya sit in the crowd with the Talis and the Kiramen. When the shot goes back to the Hex Gate, different runes show up. The one over Noxus is missing, and there is a new one at Recklestake. It also fully reveals the northern part of Runeterra. Jace calls Piltover the City of Progress, and he says that their future is bright. This is his motto in League of Legends. During Jinx's heist, the building outside was set on fire as a misdirection so that she could steal the gemstone from the main lab. That's why she's talking remotely in there. She left her Progress Day toy in place of the gem on the anvil. When it zooms out, you can see she drew an explosion on the wall, which lines up with the place where the Hextech gem would have been. This is in reference to her PTSD from the exploding crystals. When Jace tries to shut down the Hex Gates, all the counselors are against it because we now know they have shady deals. The Medardan Council revealed that he is shipping wine to Noxus. Marcus is nervous about Jace becoming a counselor, because it would give the Kiramans even more power, endangering his deals with Silco even more. When Jace is voted in, you can only hear one clicking sound. This indicates that everyone voted yes. In her cave, Jinx is listening to the Get Jinxed song. She is disassembling one of the mechanized butterflies from earlier. In the back you can see the horse carousel from the music video. It is the same horse she stole in Act 1. She also kept her drawing of Vander and the kids from the first act, as well as some of the glowing stones from Benzo's shop. The blueprint reveals that she was already working on Jace's device from the first act to stabilize the crystals. This scene also reveals how the Milo figure has its feet on the table, as he always had during Act 1. Caitlyn's room is full of flowers because after she got injured, everyone wanted to send their wishes to someone from the Karaman family. Caitlyn uses a tarot card to mark the important evidence. These tarot cards will return, and they are symbolic during Act 2. According to her map, the lanes are just a part of what is officially called the Fissures. The note attached to it seems to be from the manifest from the beginning. She's currently holding a picture of Jinx's monkey, because she's trying to connect the symbol on the wall she saw right before the explosion. In the background you can see that the map is exactly the same one with the hex gate which Silco has, proving that Silco has some inside information about the investigations. Caitlyn decides to go to the still water hold, because at the beginning of the episode, that's where Marcus said he would take the goon from the airship. Of course, Vi beat him up because they knew each other from Act 1. Since Vi was revealed to be in the prison, that means it is where Marcus put her after she saved her life at the end of Act 1. And of course, he did it because he made a deal with Silco. If he removed Vi, Marcus's own family would be safe. Then we get to episode 5. During the flashback, while Caitlyn's father is happy to talk about the hunting, it's not exactly what her mother is excited about. Grayson also asks Caitlyn what is she shooting for. The next time Caitlyn shoots, she will save Vi. When Caitlyn shows Vi the picture of the monkey, you can see she drew the rest of the monkey over it to make sense of it. When Caitlyn presents the order to free Vi, you can see it is signed and stamped by J. Tallis. Of course, that's Jace. That's because the enforcers answer him now. When Vi hears the walking cane, you can actually see she's getting ready for another beating. Marcus is giving speech in honor of the enforcers who made fun of Caitlyn before they died. Silco points out that Marcus became a sheriff because of him. This is because Silco killed Grayson, meaning that what happened in Act 1 wasn't an accident. It was Silco's plan to promote Marcus. When Jace talks about rooting out the corruption, of course, Marcus gets nervous. Back in Jinx's cave, she is reading Jace's journal. She stole it together with the gem. And she's doing it because she is still working on the little device with the runes. That's what's going on here. It's a makeshift replica down to the twisting button. She also got interested in the exact same page Victor got interested in when reading the journal. During the Hextech mini-explosion, for a few frames, both Clagger and Milo briefly overlay the figures Jinx made for them. There is also the rhino from the Get Jinxed video. We also saw it under her bed in Act 1. The bunny, together with the torch she got in Act 1, were in the box on the table. This slow Yordle is the same one who was begging on the streets of Zone in Act 1. And yep, it wasn't a new champion teaser. It was Vi. Apparently, the slow Yordle is not so slow after all. Also, this seems to be the same street from the anime music video. Vi told Caitlyn Jinx could do parkour when she was 7. She also called herself Fisherfolk, in reference to the Fisher. While Victor is fighting time and he's working, Jace is checking what he looks like in the background. The Ionians in the background are back. The Jinx scene at the arcade is different from the trailer, because here you can actually hear the voices of Clagger and Milo in her head. This would have spoiled the show. When the last drop is closed, you can see that the Silco stupid goon and the bartender are standing outside. The performance in the theater is some kind of a Freljordian play. Later, the storm of the performance mimics Jace's descent into the chaos of corruption in Piltover. Mel agrees to call Jace an investment, foreshadowing that perhaps she is just using him. Some people believe that the performer is Jin. That is highly improbable when lined up with his story. Also, it is a cameo of Ray Chen. When visiting the brothel, the symbol on the window is exactly the same as the one on the napkin Jericho gave them, revealing that Jericho sneakily told Vi to seek more information there. In one room, two people are wearing the Kindred masks while puffing some shimmer. There is also a Mirai-themed room where Justice is blind. Also a fun fact, Pim has the same voice actor as Silco. Need I say more? Need I say more? Well, she started on the streets. Few years later, look where she made it. And if you stop being distracted by her, you may notice there is a Blood Moon Twisted Fate mask there. While Marcus is waiting for Silco to arrive, he's holding the bloody coin from Act 1, from the scene where Grayson died. When Silco presents Marcus the misleading proof for the council, you can see they drew the Firelight Hourglass symbol on it, the same one the leader has on his chest. I would truly love to make sense of what is happening in the background, but it is a bit beyond me. Also, there is a blurry booba in the background there. I might have to censor it even more because it is actually not that blurry. It is also revealed that Silco's number 2 is a regular, so Savika is enjoying her time here. Speaking of which, Caitlyn was enjoying her time there as well. The room is set up to play into Caitlyn's hunting hobby. Not only are they in a similar forest to the one from the flashback, but looking at the animals and the bow and the arrows, in this frame, Caitlyn is portrayed as Artemis, the goddess of hunt. Mel mentions the Medarda family only takes from people. They rarely give back. This is foreshadowing what's to come. That scene was Skye's only chance to score. I don't think she'll get another one. She mentioned that there is always tomorrow. That was before Victor collapsed. And let's skip all of that. I just find it funny that the Hex Core is actually pulsing in rhythm with Jace's exploration. The reason why the droplet of blood was drawn into the Hex Core was not to show Jace's exchange of liquids. It was to show that the Hex Core reacts to organic matter. That's how Victor figures out what to do with the flowers. The scene where Silco lets powder drown so that Jinx may rise has a cool detail that comes a bit later on. Imagine Dragons are there, part of this world. Marcus is actually listening to their song too. Unlike it was during Grayson's leadership, his table is overflowing with paperwork, showing us he can't handle all the work by himself. The scene also shows us he didn't pull the pin and kill Silco because of his daughter. The sad part here is, in that picture, his daughter drew a woman in the sky watching them. This is likely her mother. Right after Victor's critical scene, 2 cards are dealt on the table in Zone. These are Death and Magician. The Magician has an extra arm on his shoulder, just like Victor will. When Caitlyn saves Vi, it was the first time she shot her rifle since Grayson asked her what she was shooting for. Well, she's shooting for Vi. Right before Jinx finished Jace's contraption, we can see Mr. Bunny was taken there to see it happen too. On the left, we can also see a bigger version of one of the monkeys. And she's using the feathers of the crow she shot in the arcade to hold the papers. And at the end, it is revealed that Silco believed that Vi was dead. That was his deal with Marcus. Marcus saving Vi was unknown to him. So now that he knows that she is alive, he has a reason to threaten him through his family. And this takes us to episode 6. We can see young Skye already showing interest in Victor. Then we can see the same butterfly that also appeared during Jace's flashback in Act 1, connecting the 2 flashbacks. Singed revealed that Rio is a rare mutation he created himself. He feeds it the flowers because it is likely they contain Shimmer, which prolongs its life. Also, Rio is in TFT. Heimerdinger reveals he is the one who found Victor and brought him to Piltover. In the original universe, it was Professor Stanwyck. Victor also asked him if he contemplates death, and Heimerdinger answered, only those of friends. That's because Yordles are magical creatures that can't truly die. When Mel is painting, you can see her grounding the dye herself, adding eggs into it. This was the medieval way to make paint. When Jace leans on Mel's lap, you can see that she's a bit shocked. Once again, this may be hinting that Mel doesn't truly feel much for Jace. She is just using him as an investment with benefits. After listening to how he talked about Victor, she also told him that he should be with him. She then revealed she was an exile from her family, right as the shot reveals that she was painting the immortal bastion of Noxus. In League of Legends, One of the tips reveals that her mother was a Noxian warlord. In Victor's critical state, he has void-like visions of Shimmer, which temporarily prolong life. Jinx's stay at the bar with Chuck, who is actually called Theorem, mimics her stay at the bar with Vander. She even gets the exact same drink. Jinx sneaks the paint grenade on his back during an earlier hug. In the underbelly, Vi asks what's the sign in front of them doing there. That's because later we learn it was built there to replace her childhood home. When interrogating Savika, Jinx stabs a knife into her augmented arm to deactivate it. When Savika reveals that Vi returned, we can see her brief reflection in the knife. When Marcus returns home, he doesn't relax until he rips off the badge. Silco's stupid goon is reading stories about Teemo. On the first picture, it seems like something hits Teemo in the head. One of the lost souls in the underbelly is Huck from Vander's pub. Unlike the rest, he didn't flee from the light because he recognized Vi. Remember the shot from the trailer where we thought that Jinx was hiding behind Silco? Well, more misdirections. Caitlyn told her she has a good heart, just like Vander. Victor called his invention a Hex Core, referencing Victor's passive in-game. In Heimerdinger's memory, you can see the same mage from the Rune Wars in the middle of a void-infested zone. I wonder if this is referencing the Mage Kings of Icathia, who unleashed the void upon Runeterra. When Heimerdinger talks about the dangers of the Hex Core, the shot switches to the core's perspective. This is because the Hex Core itself can sentiently respond. Back in the underbelly, Huck never introduces himself, but we know it's him. The Potion Master waits for Caitlyn to trade her gun in before she gives it a drop of Shimmer. We don't know if this is to prevent people from stealing the potions, because without Shimmer they would be worthless, or if she added the Shimmer in as a bonus because the rifle was so valuable. You can see Huck trying to fight his addiction when he sees it. You may notice later he'll lose that fight. Regardless, even after knowing it contains Shimmer, Caitlyn didn't really hesitate before giving it to Vi. Since they can't close the hex gates because of the shady deals, Jace ordered to close the bridges between Piltover and Zaun. This is an issue for Marcus, because now, in order for Vi and Caitlyn to return, they have to cross the bridges. So Marcus will have to kill Vi, otherwise his family is in danger. During a council meeting, Jace's argument against Heimerdinger's caution is that humans don't have as much time as the Yordles. They can't wait forever with their inventions. This is because he's pressured by Victor's short time, while Yordles live forever. And when Jace offers to give Heimerdinger his well-deserved retirement, you can see how all the counselors are nervous. That's because they all know it is the wrong decision. Heimerdinger was the only uncorrupted leader, but they all had to vote him out for their shady deals to work. When Vi wakes up from her coma, she briefly sees her mother instead of Caitlyn, with the hallucination of Jinx behind her. During this moment full of tension, while you may be thinking about other things, you may notice that Caitlyn is responsible, and she is staring into Vi's eyes because she is checking the temporary changes after Shimmer was applied. Yes, you can see the eyes are briefly pink. On the beam behind Caitlyn, you can see the names of Violet and Powder, as well as their age and height. The reason why Silco was able to find Vi in the underbelly was because Huck sold her out for some Shimmer. By punching down the tower, Vi symbolically destroyed the Eye of Zaun, as well as the thing that destroyed her home. Jinx then fires up the torch Vi gave her in the last scene of Act 1. Jinx remembers Milo and Clegor because when she got the torch, that was the last time she had seen them alive. During the heroic scenes, we can see this. Silco kicking to death one of the addicted thralls, and Marcus closing the bridge, dooming Vi. Back in the flashbacks, it is revealed that Singed had to pump Rio with Shimmer to save her, and he quickly offered Victor the flower to feed it to her again, just like he had the first time. When Victor leaves, he steps on one of the flowers. It makes the sound of the Shimmer, revealing that these flowers are likely the source of it. And later, you can see that Rio survived in a jar. Singed is revealed to have his face covered. In the original universe, the reason why he wears the mask is different. There he was scarred by Warwick. Back in Silco's office, Jinx moved the dagger back to the square where she stole the gemstone. When Vi and Jinx are reunited, you can hear the music from the bridge from the very first scene of this series. When Caitlyn arrives, Jinx realizes Savika wasn't lying, and Vi really got a new partner. That's why, before, Jinx covered Savika with the words liar. Jinx also said that Powder fell down a well, referencing how Silco drowned her. When the Firelights gang arrived, you can see that every single one of them has the hourglass on them, further feeding the theory that it might be Echo. When Jinx goes on a rampage, you can see Shimmer reflecting in her eyes, foreshadowing her future. Vi is shocked to see that Jinx can fight. That's actually the first time Vi ever saw her take care of herself. And in the final scene, not only were the two separated again, but the gang took Vi and the Hextech gem. And those were all the details from Act 2. As it was with Act 1, if you noticed something I didn't, or if you noticed that I made a mistake somewhere, please let me know. I will try whatever I can to fix it. But now let's take a quick break so we can do it all again for the third time next week.